I originally thought my childhood sweetheart, the campus belle, was just helping me out, but unexpectedly she quietly turned my life into a jar of honey, from pretending to get lost and coming to my bed, to boldly asking for a proper status. Now she's even talking about having a baby help. Every day she comes up with ways to tease me, acting cute and asking for hugs during the day, and pretending to sleepwalk into my bed at night. My name is Feng Yuan, an ordinary office worker, living a peaceful 9-to-5 life, occasionally working 996, until a phone call from my mom dropped like a stone into still water. Zhao Yuan, do you remember? Uncle Bai's family who lived downstairs. His daughter Ningbing was your little tagalong. He's been transferred to your city for work. My heart skipped a beat, and in my mind appeared a little girl who always followed behind me, with 2 braided pigtails and dimples when she smiled. In my memory, Bai Ningbing was quiet, and even a bit of a crybaby. Now she's new here, and unfamiliar with everything. Your uncle asked me to have you take care of her. I was thinking, since your place is a 2-bedroom apartment, and 1 room is empty anyway, let Ningbing stay with you for a while, so you can look after each other. I almost didn't even think, and blurted out, Mom, isn't that inappropriate? We haven't seen each other for years. It would be so awkward. You've got to be kidding. My single, carefree life has just begun. How could I suddenly have a childhood sweetheart who's practically a stranger now move in? What's inappropriate about that? Didn't you two get along great as kids? You were practically inseparable. And now Ningbing has grown into a graceful beauty. I heard she's a top talent in her company. You're getting a great deal here. Don't be ungrateful. My mom kept rambling on the phone, and in the end, I half reluctantly agreed, or rather, under her forceful arrangement that didn't give me any chance to refuse. This matter was just like that, settled before I even hung up the phone. I ruffled my hair irritably. Childhood sweetheart. Not seen for years. Living together when these words were put together. No matter how I thought about it, it felt full of drama and trouble. I could even imagine a cold and distant urban beauty, with a polite yet detached smile, living under the same roof as me, maintaining an awkward yet polite relationship. Just thinking about it gave me a headache. A few days later, on the weekend, the doorbell rang. I took a deep breath and adjusted my expression, trying to make myself look more natural, then opened the door. The girl standing at the door made me freeze for a moment. She was wearing a beige long coat, which accentuated her tall, slender figure. Her long black hair fell smoothly over her shoulders. Her features were exquisitely beautiful. Her skin was fair as snow, and in her brows and eyes, I could still faintly see traces of her childhood self, but the childishness was gone, replaced with a hint of coolness and charm. She looked at me, the corners of her lips lifting slightly, forming a faint smile. That was enough to outshine everything around her. Brother Feng Yuan. Long time no see. Her voice was crisp and pleasant, with a subtle hint of sweetness. This was somewhat different from the cold campus beauty I had imagined, without the expected distance or formality. Bai Ningbing naturally pulled her suitcase inside, as if she had just returned home from a trip. She glanced around my small apartment, nodded, and said it was tidier than she expected. I followed behind her, somewhat at a loss, watching her find the empty bedroom and start unpacking. Her natural attitude instead made me, the host, seem somewhat unnecessary and awkward. Do you need my help? I asked stiffly. Bai Ningbing turned around, her eyes curving into crescents. No need. Brother Feng Yuan, you go do your thing. I can handle it myself. The way she kept calling me Brother Feng Yuan made my face heat up a little. The image of that little crybaby from my memory and the bright, charming woman in front of me just couldn't overlap. For the first few days, everything was peaceful. Bai Ningbing was indeed just as she appeared. Independent and sensible, she could cook, and her cooking was quite good. saving my stomach from being poisoned by takeout. She was very tidy, keeping the common areas neat and organized. Even my pigsty-like bedroom was affected by it and became much cleaner. We didn't talk much, but the atmosphere was harmonious. She seemed very busy, often coming home later than me. Gradually, I let go of my initial guard and awkwardness, and felt that having a roommate like this wasn't so bad. Until that night, I was fast asleep, when I vaguely felt my door being gently pushed open. I'm a light sleeper, easily awakened by any movement. I opened my sleepy eyes, and with the faint moonlight coming through the window, I saw a slender figure standing at the door. It was by Ningbing. She was wearing a silky slip nightdress, holding her pillow, her long hair slightly messy over her shoulders, her eyes hazy and a bit helpless. I instantly became more alert and subconsciously sat up, lowering my voice as I asked, "Ningbing, what's wrong?" Bai Ningbing stood at the door, not coming in immediately, her voice carrying a trace of sleepiness and softness. "Brother Feng Yuan, I think I got lost." Lost? I froze for a moment, almost failing to process it. From her room to mine was less than 10 meters, and there wasn't even a single turn. She got lost anyway. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Ningbing, your room is right across there." She gave a soft but didn't move. Instead, she stepped forward and stopped beside my bed. Moonlight fell over her, outlining her graceful figure. Her eyes shone brightly in the dark, staring straight at me. I had a nightmare, and I'm a little scared. Her voice carried a faint tremble. "Can I stay here for a while?" At that point, what could I even say? Could I really harden my heart and send away such a pitiful beauty? I shifted slightly to the side, making some space for her, and said a bit stiffly, "Then sit." Who would have thought she would directly hug her pillow, lift a corner of the blanket, and lie down beside me? Her movements were natural and smooth, without the slightest hesitation. The soft mattress sank slightly as she lay down. A faint, sweet scent, unique to her, instantly filled my senses. My body tensed up immediately, my mind going completely blank. Wasn't this progressing a bit too fast? We might be childhood sweethearts, but we hadn't seen each other for years. So we were basically strangers now. "Bai Ningbing, you," I tried to say something to break the strange, ambiguous atmosphere, but she turned to face me, closed her eyes, her long lashes like two small fans, casting faint shadows beneath her eyelids. "Brother Feng Yuan, I'm asleep now." Her breathing soon became steady and gentle, as if she had truly fallen asleep in an instant, leaving me alone staring at the ceiling. My thoughts in a mess, my body stiff like a rock, my nose filled with her scent, her soft breathing echoing in my ears. How was I supposed to sleep like this? That night, I stayed awake almost until dawn. And all of this was only just the beginning. From that day on, Bai Ningbing seemed to develop a peculiar kind of sleepwalking. Every 1 or 2 days, she would get lost into my room late at night, with all sorts of excuses. "Brother Feng Yuan, there are strange noises in my room." "Brother Feng Yuan, my air conditioner seems broken. It's so cold." "Brother Feng Yuan, I'm thirsty and can't find my cup." Each time, she would hug that familiar pillow, wearing a light and alluring nightdress, standing at my door, looking at me with that gaze, a mix of innocence, dependence, and a hint of something else. Then naturally climbing onto my bed. Every time, I told myself that next time I must firmly refuse and not let her push further. But every single time, facing that pitiful look of hers and that soft "Brother Feng Yuan," my fragile resolve would instantly collapse. I could only keep comforting myself that she was just scared, just not used to the new place, After all, we were close as kids, just treated as taking care of a younger sister. But deep down, I knew very well. What kind of sister would look at her brother like that? What kind of sister would so boldly crawl into her brother's bed, was rushing uncontrollably in a direction beyond control, all the way forward, until one time, she got lost again and came over. This time, she didn't fall asleep as quickly as usual. In the darkness, she suddenly spoke softly, "Brother Fang Yuan, do you still remember? When we were little, we often took naps together. On that bamboo mat-covered sofa in your house." My throat moved, and I answered hoarsely, "I remember." How could I not remember? Back in those summer days. Cicadas screamed outside the window. The old ceiling fan creaked as it spun. The two of us little kids squeezed onto the narrow sofa. She always said it was too hot, and would throw her legs over me. Sleeping with drool all over. So nice, she sighed softly. Her voice filled with contentment, as if she had returned to childhood. She turned over, facing me though it was pitch dark. I could still feel her intense gaze. "Brother Fang Yuan," her voice suddenly lowered, carrying a firmness that allowed no doubt, and a hint of stubbornness. "You'll always be my Fang Yuan, won't you?" My heart suddenly jumped. Before I could answer, she leaned closer, almost against my ear, and whispered word by word, "Fang Yuan, you can only be mine." That sentence was like a thunderclap, exploding in my mind. Her tone was light, yet carried overwhelming possessiveness. It wasn't a question, it was more like a declaration. I froze completely, as if all the blood in my body rushed to my head. My heart pounding wildly. After saying that, she didn't speak again. As if it had all just been a dream. The seemingly gentle and harmless childhood sweetheart might actually have inside her a side that was strong and obsessive. My little tag-along from childhood seemed to have grown crook. The next morning, we sat at the table eating breakfast as usual. Ningbing looked completely normal, as if the person who made that domineering declaration last night wasn't her at all. She carefully cut my fried egg into small pieces and placed it in front of me. With the same sweet smile, "Brother Fang Yuan, eat quickly, or you'll be late for work." I looked at her, my emotions extremely complicated. What exactly was going on? Was I overthinking it? Or did this childhood sweetheart of mine really have an unusually strong possessiveness toward me? Our cohabitation seemed from this moment on to truly begin a dangerous, yet irresistibly tempting chapter. The sunlight outside was bright and dazzling, falling on her delicate profile, but I felt as if I were being slowly enveloped by a gentle yet airtight net, with no way to escape. Ningbing's words, "You can only be mine," looped in my head all day. Sitting at my desk, staring at the computer screen, even the code turned into her face with that faint smile. What exactly is this girl trying to do? That little sprout from childhood, who used to tug at my clothes, with teary eyes saying, "Brother Fang Yuan, I'm scared." How did she grow into someone so impossible to handle? On my way home from work, I hesitated a little before opening the door. What kind of scene would be waiting for me? Would it continue that heart-racing ambiguity from last night, or return to the polite distance of the first few days? As it turned out, it was neither. The moment I opened the door, the aroma of food rushed toward me. Ningbing was wearing that buy one get one cartoon apron from the supermarket, carrying two dishes out of the kitchen, with a perfectly timed smile on her face. Warm and gentle. "You're back. Go wash your hands and eat." Her tone was completely natural, her demeanor calm, as if the girl who crawled into my bed last night and declared her claim in my ear was just my illusion. I stood frozen at the door, unable to react for a moment. This seamless switch made me feel like a fool being toyed within her hands. "What are you standing there for?" She put the dishes on the table, then walked over and naturally took my coat and hung it on the rack by the door. Her movements were so practiced, as if we had lived like this for years. Her fingertips occasionally brushed against the back of my hand, sending a faint ripple through me. I watched her busy figure. My emotions tangled. What was this? A slap followed by a sweet reward? About last night, I cleared my throat, trying to bring up what kept me awake. Ningbing turned around, still holding a ladle, her eyes clear with a hint of confusion. "Last night? What about last night?" "I slept really well. All the way till morning." She tilted her head, looking so innocent it was flawless. "Well, you later," I faltered, at a loss for words. I couldn't exactly ask why she climbed into my bed last night and said those things to me. What if she really didn't remember? Wouldn't that make me some kind of creep imagining things? "Are you talking about me going to your room?" She smiled a little shyly, raising her hand to tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear, revealing her fair, slender neck. I don't really know what happened. Maybe changing environments gave me a bit of sleepwalking. "Did I scare you? I'm really sorry." Her apology was sincere and open, leaving all my unspoken questions stuck in my throat. Sleepwalking. I looked into her eyes, clear as water yet seemingly hiding endless depth, and couldn't say a word. What kind of sleepwalker has such clear logic, such precise intentions, and even brings a pillow along? But she clearly had no intention of exposing the truth. So, I could only play along with her. No, it's fine," I replied stiffly. "Just, if you're scared at night, you can sleep with the light on." Ningbing's eyes curved into a smile, her expression sweet. "Got it. Thank you for caring, Brother Fangyuan." I ate that meal without tasting anything. She kept putting food on my plate, chatting about interesting things at work, her tone light and lively, completely like a considerate and cheerful roommate. Yet I always felt beneath her sweet smile, there was something I couldn't see through. After the meal, I took the initiative to do the dishes. She didn't leave, just leaned against the kitchen doorway watching me, her gaze almost tangible on my back, making my skin feel like it was burning. "Brother Fangyuan," she suddenly spoke. My hand slipped, and the plate almost fell into the sink. "What is it? Do you remember when you helped me fight that chubby kid from next building who stole my candy and made him cry?" I froze for a moment. My memory pulled back to long ago. It did seem like that happened and made him cry. I rushed in on impulse back then and ended up getting beaten up too. I remember when I got home, my dad even scolded me. She smiled helplessly. Back then, I thought Brother Fangyuan was the strongest person in the world. Her voice carried a gentle nostalgia. "You said you would always protect me." My heart felt like it had been lightly struck. A childish promise. And she still remembered it so clearly. Things we said as kids don't really count. I tried to make my tone sound casual. "They count." Her voice suddenly turned serious. I turned to look at her. She was still leaning against the doorframe, but her gaze was no longer playful. Instead, it was direct, almost stubbornly serious. "Every word I said counts." Her eyes locked onto mine, as if confirming something or declaring something. I opened my mouth, but didn't know what to say. The kitchen was filled only with the sound of running water and the silent flow between us, of thick, unbreakable tension and ambiguity. That night, I lay in bed unable to sleep, partly because of Ningbing, and the things she hinted at during the day. And partly because I was subconsciously waiting for that familiar knock, or the figure pushing the door open. This very anticipation made me feel a bit twisted. I was actually looking forward to her sneaking in. Crazy. I must be crazy. Time passed second by second. The outside of the door remained silent, just when I thought she might actually behave tonight. And I was about to drift off. Click, a very faint sound of the door opening. My drowsiness vanished instantly. My heart began to race uncontrollably. She's here. I tightly shut my eyes, pretending to be asleep, wanting to see what excuse she would use this time. Her footsteps were light, carefully approaching the bedside. She didn't climb in right away, but stood by the bed, quietly watching me for a moment. Her gaze brushed over my face like a feather, carrying a mix of scrutiny and fascination. I tried to keep my breathing steady, but my palms were sweating. Then I felt the mattress sink. She slipped in again, bringing with her that familiar faint sweet scent. This time, she didn't lie properly at a distance, like before. Instead, she moved closer, her arm gently rested on my waist, testing the waters. My body instantly stiffened like a stone. Through the thin fabric of my pajamas, I could clearly feel the warmth of her arm and the softness of her body. Her breath brushed against the back of my ear. Ticklish, my mind went completely blank. All my blood seemed to rush somewhere. This had completely gone beyond sleepwalking, or just being scared. Brother Fang Yuan, she called softly behind me, her breathy voice brushing my heart like feathers. Are you asleep? I didn't dare respond, continuing to play dead. If I woke up now, how awkward would this be? She seemed to chuckle softly. Then I felt her forehead gently press against my back. It was a posture full of dependence and possession. Feels so nice, she murmured in satisfaction, and made no further moves, just holding me like that, her breathing gradually becoming steady. But I was completely unable to fall asleep. The warmth and touch against my back were vivid, the presence of her arm around my waist overwhelming. Her scent completely enveloped me. I lay there like a wooden puppet, not daring to move at all, afraid of disturbing the little demon behind me, who seemed to be asleep, yet still held me tightly in her arms. That night was even harder to endure than the last. That feeling of being needed, being possessed, being confined, yet mixed with a strange sweetness, wrapped around me like vines, leaving me unable to break free, even a little addicted. The next morning, I got up with dark circles under my eyes. Ningbing had already made breakfast, looking full of energy, radiant and refreshed. When she saw me, she gave a bright, carefree smile. Morning, Brother Feng Yuan. Her gaze fell on my face with just the right amount of concern. Didn't you sleep well last night? You don't look so good. I looked at her innocent expression, as if the one who clung to me like an octopus last night wasn't her at all. A nameless irritation, mixed with complicated feelings, rose in my chest. Thanks to someone, I really didn't sleep well, I said pointedly, staring straight into her eyes, trying to find even the slightest flaw. Ningbing blinked those big eyes, her long lashes fluttering like butterfly wings. Was it because I sleepwalked and disturbed you last night? She frowned slightly, her expression showing just the right amount of guilt and self-blame. This bad habit really is. Brother Feng Yuan, how about you lock your door at night? Then I won't be able to get in. She even offered a solution, with a sincerity that left no room for doubt. Lock the door. I looked at her and sneered inwardly. With her persistence, if I really locked it, would she just take an axe and break it down? Even I was startled by my own thought, but looking into my Ningbing's unfathomable eyes, I felt it might not be impossible. Forget it. I averted my gaze, picking up my spoon and stirring the porridge. It's nothing. I give up. In this game she controlled, with unclear rules. I kept retreating step by step. The corner of my Ningbing's lips curved slightly into a faint, triumphant smile, so subtle I almost thought it was my imagination. Brother Feng Yuan is the best, she said sweetly, adding another bite of side dishes to my bowl. Days passed like this. My Ningbing's sleepwalking episodes had no pattern at all, but her skill at climbing into my bed kept improving. Her sleeping posture evolved from lying properly at first to lying on her side, and later, almost clinging to me, like a koala. As for me, from initial stiffness and resistance to helpless acceptance, to now, gradually getting used to it. Sometimes, when she worked late and didn't visit at night, I would instead feel an emptiness and have trouble sleeping. The only thing I knew was that I was being slowly boiled like a frog, my defenses being eroded bit by bit. This realization made me uneasy, yet also carried a hint of hidden excitement. On the weekend, we went grocery shopping together. My Ningbing naturally linked her arm with mine, like a real couple. She was enthusiastically comparing different brands of shampoo, asking me which scent I liked. She carefully placed my favorite yogurt and snacks into the cart. When we passed the shelf of personal products, she even casually picked up a box, looked at it, then put it back, then looked up and gave me a pure, harmless smile. Brother Feng Yuan, this brand seems to have good reviews. Should we stock up on some? My face instantly flushed red. I almost choked on my own saliva. It felt like people around us were staring. I grabbed her hand and practically fled the scene. By Ningbing, you? I was both embarrassed and annoyed, but looking at her fox-like smiling face, I couldn't say a word. What's wrong? She blinked, looking completely innocent. As adults, it's better to be prepared. Or, she deliberately dragged out her tone, leaning closer and lowering her voice. Brother Feng Yuan is shy. Her breath brushed against my ear, warm and teasing. My heartbeat skipped, looking at her lips so close, curved with a faint smile. A crazy thought suddenly surfaced. I wanted to kiss her, to silence that mouth that kept saying things that made my heart race, out of control, to see if she would still remain so composed. The thought startled even myself. I suddenly stepped back, creating distance, my heart still pounding wildly. By Ningbing watched my flustered reaction, and her smile deepened, carrying a dangerous satisfaction, as if she saw through everything. She knew. She had always known what she was doing, and how she affected me. She was like a skilled hunter who had set up a gentle trap, waiting patiently for me to walk into it. And even though I saw through it all, on the way back, we walked side by side, the atmosphere subtly silent, the setting sun stretching our shadows long. By Ningbing suddenly stopped and looked at me. Brother Feng Yuan, will we keep going like this? There was something in her eyes I had never seen before. A hint of near fragile vulnerability. The afterglow of the sunset cast a warm light over her, making her look unreal, almost too beautiful. Keep going like this? Like what? Continuing this ambiguous, unclear relationship, being visited by her at night, being teased by her, having every bit of my space and thoughts gradually taken over by her. I looked into her eyes. The emotions inside were complicated and hard to read. There was obsession, possession, but at this moment, what showed more was a cautious anticipation. My heart suddenly softened. Maybe this was just her way of expressing dependence and affection, though it was intense and possessive. Almost as if guided by instinct, I raised my hand and gently ruffled her hair. I heard myself say, "Yes." Ningbing's eyes lit up instantly, as if filled with an entire galaxy. She wrapped her arm around mine again and rested her face against it, nuzzling contentedly. "Deal," she said softly. Yet her words of regret carried an unquestionable firmness. "I'll be very angry." At that moment, I clearly felt as if I had really sold myself. Sold myself to someone who seemed sweet and flawless, but was actually obsessive and domineering my childhood sweetheart, and the road ahead seemed to be firmly under her control. Other than following her, I had no choice. Ever since that almost confession at the supermarket, or rather, the conversation where I was confessed to, the relationship between me and Ningbing entered a strange phase. She still sleepwalked into my room every night, her posture becoming more and more domineering, from just holding my arm to curling her entire body into my arms, and I, from my initial stiffness, to now half resisting, half yielding, even subconsciously adjusting my posture when she burrowed in. To make her more comfortable. Habit is truly a frightening thing. When I wake up in the morning, I often find our limbs tangled together, her head resting on my arm, her breathing steady, sleeping like a harmless angel. Only at times like this can I temporarily forget the hooked words and looks she gives when she's awake. But during the day, she's still that gentle and considerate, occasionally revealing a sly, fox-like smile. My roommate. This day and night contrast often leaves me in a daze. It feels like I'm raising a little creature gentle and clingy by day, but at night, showing sharp teeth and little claws. A little wild cat that has to snuggle up to you to sleep. Dangerous, yet irresistible. On a weekend afternoon, we lounge on the sofa watching a movie. An old, cliché romance film. The main couple reunites after hardships, kissing in the rain. The atmosphere grew a little subtle. Ningbing sat cross-legged beside me, holding my cushion in her arms, chin resting on it, watching intently. Her profile under the flickering light of the TV looked especially gentle. I suddenly thought of when we were kids. We often watched TV together like this. But back then, we watched cartoons. She would get excited over the plot and shout loudly, and even snatch my snacks. "Brother Fangyuan," she suddenly spoke, her eyes still fixed on the screen. "Have you ever been in a relationship?" My heart skipped a beat. What was bound to come has finally come. "Why are you asking that?" I tried to brush it off. "Just curious." She turned her head, her eyes sparkling as she looked at me. "We've been apart for so many years. Brother Fangyuan is not bad looking either. There must be many girls who like you." Her tone sounded light and casual, but I keenly caught a faint, almost imperceptible alarm. She was testing me. I looked at her, and suddenly a thought arose. I can't let her get too smug. This little wildcat needs to feel a bit of crisis once in a while. "Yeah, I've dated too," I said calmly, my gaze drifting toward the TV, pretending to be absorbed in the plot. The air seemed to freeze for a few seconds. I could feel her body beside me stiffen slightly. Her voice remained gentle, but the temperature seemed to drop a little. "What kind of girls were they?" "Just ordinary girls," I answered vaguely, feeling a bit uneasy inside. Did I go too far? Were they prettier than me? She pressed on, leaning slightly toward me. "Different types, I guess," I said stiffly. "Then where are they now?" Her voice grew clearer, yet carried a hint of obsession. "We've all broken up. We haven't been in touch for a long time," I quickly added, afraid the fire might burn too fiercely. Ningbing fell silent for a moment, just quietly looking at me. That gaze didn't seem angry nor sad, but rather something deep, filled with scrutiny and calculation. It sent a chill down my back. "I see," she finally said softly, then turned back to continue watching the movie, as if the conversation just now had never happened. But I knew It wasn't that simple. This was just the calm before the storm. Sure enough, the nighttime ambush came as expected. And it was more intense than ever before. It was no longer a quiet sneaking in, but directly lifting the blanket. Like a nimble little leopard, her whole body pressed onto mine, carrying an unquestionable dominance. In the darkness, I could clearly see her eyes up close. Astonishingly bright, filled with emotions I couldn't understand. Brother Fengyuan. Her voice carried a hint of hoarseness. Her breath brushed against my face, warm and moist. My heart pounded wildly, almost bursting out of my chest. What are you doing? My voice tightened. She didn't answer. Instead, she lowered her head, her forehead pressed against mine, her nose brushing against mine. This was an extremely intimate and extremely dangerous posture. I'm not happy, she said bluntly, her tone carrying a hint of grievance, but even more of a strong possessiveness. Hearing you talk about other women, it makes me uncomfortable here. She took my hand and pressed it against her left chest, through a thin layer of silky sleepwear. I could feel her heart beating strongly. And that soft sensation, my mind exploded with a bang, like a bomb had been dropped into it. Instantly going blank. All the blood in my body seemed to rush toward the point where we touched. Ningbing, my throat bobbed, my voice hoarse and dry. You are mine, she declared, her tone leaving no room for doubt, carrying an almost obsessive persistence. Since we were very, very young, it has been so, and it can only be so in the future. Her words were like a domineering spell, binding me tightly in place. Those past things, I don't care, she continued, her lips almost touching mine, but from now on, your eyes and your heart can only have me alone. Okay, those last 3 words softened, her tone carrying a hint of pleading, a hint of temptation, but even more, that irresistible dominance. I looked at her eyes still bright in the darkness. They reflected my silhouette, small, yet as if occupying her entire world. My heart felt like it was soaked in warm honey, yet also like it was being roasted over a fire. This extreme possessiveness should have been suffocating. But strangely, aside from my racing heartbeat, aside from my tense body, aside from that slight rebellion stirred up by her, I didn't actually dislike it. I even enjoyed it a little. This feeling of being so strongly needed and possessed by her. I must be crazy. Seeing that I didn't respond, Ningbing seemed a little dissatisfied. She let out a soft huff, then did something that completely froze me. She lowered her head, her soft lips carrying a warm heat, lightly pressed against my collarbone. It wasn't a kiss, more like a mark, a gentle touch, yet tingling with electricity. My body trembled violently, as if shocked, spreading from that point on my collarbone through my whole body. All reason, all hesitation, collapsed completely in that moment. To hell with playing it slow. To hell with creating a sense of crisis. This little wildcat doesn't need any tricks at all. She just needs to bare her claws. And I'm already completely defeated. I took a deep breath and suddenly flipped over, pinning her beneath me. Our positions instantly reversed. She seemed stunned for a moment, a flash of surprise in her eyes. But that surprise was quickly replaced by a satisfied delight. There was no fear. Instead, she wrapped her arms around my neck. Brother Fengyuan, she called my name, her voice soft and alluring, like the most intoxicating poison. In the darkness, our breaths intertwined, our bodies pressed closely together. All the ambiguity, all the probing, all the push and pull seemed to reach their peak at this moment. I looked at her, at this face so close to me, a face I both loved and hated, helplessly drawn to. In the end, all my emotions turned into a helpless, yet indulgent sigh. I lowered my head, pressing my forehead against hers. By Ningbing, I said softly with a hint of resignation. An indulgence. You really are a temptress, she smiled, her eyes curving into beautiful crescents, filled with starlight and triumph. A temptress who only ruins you. That night, we ultimately didn't make any substantial progress. We simply fell asleep in each other's arms. She was like a cat that had finally been soothed, curling up in my arms in complete contentment, sleeping especially soundly, and as I held her, feeling the real warmth and weight in my arms, that drifting, unsettled place in my heart seemed to finally settle down. From that day on, something seemed to change. I no longer resisted her closeness, and even began to get used to her presence. Used to her presence everywhere. Used to her occasional domineering words and actions. She would still sneak in at night, but I no longer pretended to be asleep. Sometimes she would chat with me, talking about trivial things at work, or reminiscing about our childhood. Sometimes she would just quietly hold me and fall asleep quickly. Our relationship entered a tacitly understood stage of intimacy. There was no explicit confession, no formal confirmation, but we both knew. That line had long been completely erased by Ningbing, in her domineering yet adorable way, until one day, when I got home from work, I found on the coffee table in the living room a familiar plastic bag with a supermarket logo. The bag was slightly open, revealing a corner of a box inside. It was the item from that shelf I had fled from last time. My face instantly grew a little warm again. Ningbing poked her head out from the kitchen, with that familiar little fox-like smile on her face. Brother Fangyuan, you're back? She said casually and naturally. I bought your favorite shrimp. I'll make braised shrimp tonight. Her gaze swept over the bag on the table, then returned to my face, the smile deepening. Oh, right, as if she had just remembered. She added, I bought that thing. It's over there. Just in case. I looked at her smile, then at the coffee table, at that extremely noticeable bag, and suddenly felt that this game she started, the initiative, seemed to be quietly shifting toward me. At least, that's what I thought. That small plastic bag on the table was like a stone dropped into a calm lake, sending ripple after ripple through my heart. Just in case. She said it so naturally, as if she were simply discussing whether to add another dish tonight. But the glint in her eyes clearly spelled out her ulterior intentions. I forced myself to stay calm as I changed shoes and put down my briefcase, trying not to let my gaze drift toward the table. Why did he get off work so early today? I tried to change the subject, but my voice sounded a bit lower than usual. Did the project finish early? Ningbing came out of the kitchen, carrying a plate of washed fruit, still wearing that ridiculous cartoon apron. I wanted to come back early to cook something tasty for you, Brother Fangyuan. She set the fruit plate on the table, right next to that plastic bag, then sat down as if nothing had happened, picking up a piece of apple with a toothpick and holding it to my lips. Try it. Is it sweet? Her movements were smooth and natural, her eyes clear and innocent, as if she had no idea what kind of bomb she had just dropped. I looked at her fingers so close to me, and that juicy piece of apple, hesitated for a moment, but still opened my mouth and took it. The sweetness spread across my tongue, but I couldn't focus at all. My mind kept replaying her words, just in case. Just in case. Is this girl provoking me? At dinner, Ningbing was especially attentive, constantly putting food onto my plate, peeling shrimp, and even carefully removing fish bones for me. Brother Fangyuan, eat more, she said, resting her chin on her hand, her eyes sparkling as she looked at me. You've gotten thinner lately. I looked down at the pile of food in my bowl, then at her face full of I'm so well behaved. and suddenly felt both annoyed and amused. This little wildcat acts so docile during the day, but who knows how she torment me at night. You eat too. I picked up some broccoli she liked and put it into her bowl. Ningbing froze for a moment. Then her eyes curved into crescents. Thank you, Brother Fengyuan. She lowered her head and ate in small bites, but the corners of her lips kept lifting. That genuine happiness made a corner of my heart melt completely. Actually, this kind of life isn't bad. If she didn't always bring up that just in case. After dinner, I took the initiative to wash the dishes. Ningbing still leaned against the kitchen doorway watching me. But this time her gaze was more direct, more intense, as if it carried real warmth. Sweeping inch by inch across my back. Brother Fengyuan. She suddenly spoke. I didn't even turn around, still battling the foam in my hands. You seem especially handsome today. My hand slipped. The plate almost dropped back into the sink. This girl really throws out flirtatious lines effortlessly. When am I not handsome? I asked with a straight face on purpose. You're handsome every day. She leaned in from behind, her chin lightly resting on my shoulder. But today you're especially handsome. Her breath brushed against my ear, carrying a faint fruity sweetness. My movements froze. All my senses focused on the point where she leaned in. Too close. So close that I could feel the curve of her body. So close that I could smell the fragrance in her hair. So close that if I just tilted my head slightly, I could touch her face. Ningbing. My voice tightened slightly. She hummed softly, her voice carrying a lazy nasal tone. I took a deep breath and turned off the tap, then turned to face her. Foam still clung to my hands, dripping down bit by bit. The distance between us closed instantly, our noses almost touching. She seemed not to expect me to turn around so suddenly, her eyes widening slightly, but soon returning to that sly expression. What is it, Brother Fengyuan? I looked into her eyes. They reflected the warm kitchen light, and my figure as well. Ningbing, I spoke slowly, my voice low. Do you know that playing with fire will burn you? She didn't step back. Instead, she stepped forward, almost pressing against me. Then she lifted her face, her gaze provocative. Do you want to put it out, Brother Fengyuan? At that moment, all reason screamed as it collapsed. I looked at her lips so close, soft, always speaking words that made my heart race. If I lowered my head just a little, I could taste her. The air grew thick. Time seemed to freeze. We stared at each other like that, in the kitchen filled with the scent of dish soap, locked in a silent standoff. In the end, I looked away first, raising my hand with foam still on my fingers, and lightly flicking her forehead. Go wipe the table clean. I turned around and turned the tap back on. Don't stand here and get in my way. The sound of running water filled the space, covering up my racing heartbeat. Ningbing stood there for a few seconds, then let out a soft laugh. All right, she said in a light tone, as if she had just won something. Then I'll wait for you. Those last 3 words, she said slowly and softly, carrying an indescribable ambiguity. After she left the kitchen, I finally let out a long breath, glancing at my slightly trembling hands. I shook my head helplessly. Fengyuan, oh Fengyuan, you're really getting more and more hopeless. Being flustered by a young girl's teasing. That night, I deliberately lingered in the study until very late, handling some non-urgent work and flipping through irrelevant materials. In truth, I was just avoiding it, avoiding the inevitable nighttime ambush, and avoiding that just in case on the table. Until the clock struck midnight. I finally resigned myself and shut the computer and headed back to the bedroom. The moment I pushed open the door, I froze. Ningbing wasn't there. The bed was empty, the blanket neatly folded. This was unusual. Normally, she would have already sleepwalked in here and gotten into position waiting for me. I suddenly felt a bit disappointed and a little uneasy. Did I go too far during the day and make her angry? After washing up, I lay in bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Without her by my side, the bed suddenly felt too big and empty. Her scent was gone from the pillow. That realization made me restless. Only then did I realize, without noticing, I had already grown so used to her warmth, used to her breathing, used to her unconscious closeness when she slept, just as I was about to get up and check the living room. The bedroom door was gently pushed open. Ningbing stood at the doorway holding a pillow, wearing that familiar silk nightgown. Her eyes hazy, Brother Fengyuan, her voice soft and sweet. I think I got lost again. At that moment, my suspended heart finally settled, and even a trace of indescribable relief surged up. I shifted inward, making space for her. Come here. Like she had received a special pardon, she quickly slipped in, bringing a hint of coolness with her. Why so late? I couldn't help asking. I accidentally got carried away and lost track of time. She buried her face into my chest, her voice muffled. I caught the faint scent from her hair. My arm naturally wrapped around her waist. What show was so good? I'll tell you. She chuckled softly, finding a comfortable position in my arms. We just held each other like that. Neither of us mentioned what happened during the day, nor that just in case. But something had indeed changed. For example, I would now take the initiative to hold her. For example, she would drape her leg over me, like a clingy little cat. The distance between us had already become almost non-existent. Brother Fengyuan, she called softly in the dark. Do you like me? The question came suddenly. My body stiffened slightly. I didn't answer immediately. Do I like her? Of course I do. From the moment she reappeared in my life, this feeling had quietly begun to grow. Through her repeated teasing, through her sly smiles, and her domineering declarations, taking root and sprouting little by little. But admitting it seemed to require a lot of courage. Seeing that I didn't respond, Ningbing lightly bit my shoulder. It didn't hurt, more like a playful tease. Fine, don't say it then. There was a hint of slight dissatisfaction in her tone. Anyway, you can only be mine. That line again. This time, I didn't stay silent. I tightened my arms, pulling her tightly into my embrace. Yours. She seemed to pause for a moment. Then her whole body softened. It's a deal. She buried her face even deeper. If you go back on it, I'll lock you up. So, you can't go anywhere. It sounded like a joke, but I knew she meant it. That realization sent a chill down my spine. Yet strangely, it also made me feel at ease. Go to sleep, I patted her back, like soothing a child. Good night, Brother Fengyuan. That night, I slept unusually soundly. No tossing and turning, no restless thoughts. The real warmth in my arms became the best lullaby. The next day was Saturday. Neither of us had to work. Sunlight streamed through the gaps in the curtains, casting dappled patterns across the bedsheets. When I woke up, Ningbing was still sleeping soundly, her cheeks flushed with a healthy rosy hue. Her long hair spread across the pillow, like a quiet painting. I gently got up, planning to prepare breakfast. Just as I was about to get out of bed, my wrist was grabbed. I turned back to meet a pair of sleepy eyes. Where are you going? Her voice carried the hoarseness of just waking up, yet her gaze had already regained its usual sharpness. To make breakfast, I smiled helplessly. Sleep a bit more. She shook her head, sitting up as the strap of her nightgown slipped down, revealing her delicate collarbone. There was even a faint red mark on it, evidence of how she had marked me that night. I'll go with you. She rubbed her eyes, like a child dependent on an adult. Seeing her like this, my heart softened completely. Okay. We prepared breakfast together in the kitchen, like a real couple. She fried eggs, I toasted bread, She heated the milk. I cut fruit. We worked in perfect sync, without needing many words. Sunlight filled the entire kitchen, casting a golden glow over her figure. In that moment, everything felt peaceful. After breakfast, we curled up on the sofa watching TV. Ningbing leaned against me, playing with my fingers. Brother Fangyuan, does this mean we're together now? She asked that question again, her tone more serious than last night. I looked down at her, and this time, I didn't avoid her expectant gaze. What do you think? I asked back. A smile curled on her lips. She blinked, then smiled too. If I say we are, then we are. She sat up straight, cupping my face, and said word by word, from today on, Fangyuan officially belongs to Ningbing. What a domineering declaration. I couldn't help but laugh. What are you laughing at? She pouted. Nothing. I took her hand and gently kissed it. As you said, I'm yours. Her eyes lit up instantly, like they were filled with stars. Then she leaned closer and placed a soft kiss on my lips, carrying a faint scent of milk. It was brief, yet it made my heart skip a beat. Sealed. She blushed, though her gaze remained bold. From now on, you're mine. I looked at her shy yet proud expression. A surge of endless tenderness welled up in my heart. Maybe being loved so possessively by someone like her isn't such a bad thing. At least I'm certain she would never leave me. Just like she said, you can only be mine, and I was willing. That fleeting, dragonfly-like kiss was like a stone dropped into the lake of my heart, sending ripples that wouldn't fade. Its soft touch still seemed to linger on my lips, along with that faint milky scent. After saying sealed, Ningbing blushed and hid in my arms, like an ostrich burying its head in the sand. So this fierce little wildcat could be shy too. That realization made me inexplicably happy. I gently held her chin, resting against her hair. 2000, I'm yours. I repeated her words, my tone carrying a softness I didn't even notice. She trembled lightly in my arms, then hugged my waist even tighter. We stayed like that, embracing on the sofa. Sunlight streamed in through the window, warm and gentle. The TV played some boring variety show, but neither of us paid attention. This moment of peace and warmth was more captivating than any storyline. Brother Fangyuan. She spoke slowly. What is it? I'm hungry. I couldn't help but laugh. Didn't we just have breakfast? I'm still hungry. She raised her head, her eyes slightly misty, like a spoiled little kitten. What do you want to eat? I rubbed her hair. The feel was so nice, it was addictive. Anything you make is fine. She buried her face back again. But hurry up. I'm starving. This girl's ability to act cute was improving by the day. I got up helplessly and walked toward the kitchen. She followed behind me like a little tail. So clingy, aren't you? How about we try making a cake? I opened the fridge and looked at the ingredients inside. You can make cake. Her eyes lit up. I'll give it a try. I took out eggs and flour. But if it fails, you're not allowed to laugh at me. Not like you. She leaned closer and helped tie my apron. Brother Fangyuan is the best. Her movements were natural. Her fingers occasionally brushed my back, sending a faint tingling sensation. After tying the apron, she didn't step away. Instead, she hugged my waist from behind, her face pressed against my back. Let's do it like this. Her voice carried a smile. I won't get in the way. And this is not getting in the way. I sighed helplessly, but still indulged her. So that morning, we worked in the kitchen. In an extremely intimate posture, I beat eggs. She held me. I sifted flour. She held me. I mixed the batter. She was still holding me, like a clingy koala. Ningbing, I can't move like this. I tried to protest. You can. She said confidently, Brother Fangyuan is so capable. You can definitely do it. That compliment left me speechless. The cake actually turned out to be a success. Although it didn't look perfect, it smelled amazing. We sat at the dining table, sharing this hard-earned cake. Ningbing ate happily. Cream smeared at the corner of her mouth. Is it good? I asked. She nodded vigorously. Her eyes curved like crescents. This is the best cake in the world. As she spoke, she scooped a spoonful and brought it to my mouth. Fang you and Jeej, you should try it too. I looked at her expectant eyes and opened my mouth to take it. The sweetness melted in my mouth. Yet it wasn't even 1/10,000th of her smile. How is it? She asked nervously. Not bad, I teased her on purpose. Just not bad. She pouted unhappily. I smiled and wiped the cream from the corner of her mouth. It's really delicious, I said seriously. Because you made it with me. Her face flushed instantly. Like a ripe apple. Fang you and Jeej, you've become bad, she muttered softly. You even know how to say sweet words now. Obviously, I was hinting at something. She snorted lightly and lowered her head to keep eating the cake. But her ears were burning red. Teasing her turned out to be so fun. In the afternoon, we decided to go watch a movie. This was our first proper date after confirming our relationship. Ningbing took it very seriously. She spent nearly an hour picking out clothes in front of the wardrobe. Fang you and Jeej, does this look good? She changed into a light blue dress and spun around in front of me. The skirt fluttered like a blooming blue lotus. It looks great, I said sincerely. She changed into a casual outfit again. What about this one? This one looks good too. What about this? They all look good. She finally got dissatisfied. She put her hands on her hips and glared at me. Fang you and Jeej, you're just brushing me off. I spread my hands helplessly. You really look good in anything. That's the truth. With her looks and figure, she'd look good even in a sack. In the end, she chose a white shirt and jeans. Simple and fresh, yet it made her look even more pure and charming. This one, she stood in front of the mirror, nodding in satisfaction. Then she turned to me. Fang you and Jeej, go change too. Isn't this fine? I looked down at my t-shirt and jeans. No, she pushed me into the bedroom. It's our first date, be a bit more formal. In the end, after my strong resistance, we reached a compromise. I changed into a slightly more formal shirt, but didn't wear a tie. That should be fine, right? I asked. Ningbing looked me up and down, then finally nodded in satisfaction. Barely acceptable. When we went out, she naturally hooked her arm through mine. The movement so familiar, as if we had walked like this countless times before. There weren't many people at the cinema. We chose seats near the back. The lights dimmed. The opening began to play. It was a romantic comedy full of laughs. The atmosphere was light. Ningbing was completely absorbed, letting out crisp laughter from time to time. At funny moments, she leaned against my shoulder laughing. At touching moments, she quietly held my hand. Her palm was small, soft, perfectly fitting within my hand. Halfway through the movie, the main couple kissed on a Ferris wheel. The scene was beautiful. The music was romantic. I felt Ningbing's hand tighten. I turned to look at her and found her staring at the screen without blinking. Her cheeks slightly flushed. Ningbing, I called softly. She turned her head, her eyes especially bright in the dim light. I didn't say anything. I just slowly leaned closer. Her breathing became noticeably faster. Her eyelashes trembled slightly, but she didn't move away. When I was only an inch from her lips, I stopped. Can I asked softly. She nodded gently and closed her eyes. So I kissed her. Unlike last time when it was just a brief touch, this time I savored her softness and sweetness. Her lips carried a sweet popcorn-like flavor. She responded shyly, her hands unconsciously clutching my clothes. The kiss lasted a long time, until the couple in the movie had already parted. Only then did we slowly separate. Her face was red like the evening glow. Her eyes glistened with a dreamy look. "This is a cinema," she said softly, but there was no hint of blame in her tone. I held her hand. "So what?" She glared at me, but didn't pull her hand away. Instead, she intertwined her fingers with mine. "Then we should come again next time." I couldn't help but laugh. This little Tsunderkitten. After the movie ended, we held hands and wandered around the mall. Like any ordinary couple, looking at shop windows and chatting. "Fangyu and Jeej." She suddenly stopped, pointing at a pet shop. "Let's get a cat." Inside the display window, a ragdoll cat was elegantly licking its paw. Its blue eyes were as beautiful as gemstones. "Why do you suddenly want a cat?" "Because it's really cute." Her eyes lit up. "Like me?" I raised an eyebrow. She nodded seriously. "It looks cold on the outside, but is actually very gentle." That comparison left me both amused and helpless. Taking care of a cat is troublesome. I tried to change her mind. "You have to feed it, clean the litter, and play with it." "I can handle it." She immediately said, "I'll feed it, I'll clean the litter, I'll play with it." As she spoke, she shook my arm. "Please. Fangyu and Jeej, please." She started acting cute again. I looked at her expectant eyes. In the end, my heart softened. "Let's wait until we move to a bigger place." I compromised. "All right." She instantly beamed. No taking it back. Seeing how happy she was, I couldn't help but smile. Maybe having a cat wouldn't be so bad. At least it could distract her attention, so she wouldn't focus on me all day. On the way home, the sun was setting. Our shadows stretched long, intertwined together, indistinguishable. By Ningbing skipped ahead happily, turning back from time to time with a smile. "Fangyu and Jeej, hurry up." I watched her cheerful back. My heart filled with a strange feeling. Warm and soft, with a hint of sweetness. So this is what being in love feels like. Not bad at all. That night, she still sleepwalked into my room on time. But this time, she didn't fall asleep right away. Instead, she lay on my chest, her eyes sparkling as she looked at me. "Fangyu and Jeej, were you happy today?" "Yes," I answered honestly. "I was happy too." She smiled, revealing two little dimples. "This was the happiest day for me. I'll make sure every day from now on is this happy. I promise." She shook her head. "It doesn't have to be every day. As long as I'm with Fangyu and Jeej, I'll be happy no matter what." Her words were so sincere. They warmed my heart. "Go to sleep." I gently patted her back. She obediently closed her eyes, and soon drifted off. Moonlight slipped through the curtains, falling on her peaceful sleeping face. I looked at her, my heart softening. This domineering yet clingy childhood sweetheart had unknowingly taken over my heart completely. And I was willing. I lowered my head and placed a kiss on her forehead. "Good night, my little wild kitten." Living together felt like being soaked in honey. Every moment was sweet to the point of indulgence. By Ningbing completely shed that faint layer of pretense from before, becoming even more clingy and even more possessive. She began to rightfully occupy every corner of my life. In the bathroom, her toiletries sat neatly beside mine, a pink toothbrush right next to a blue one. In the wardrobe, her dresses hung intertwined with my shirts. The air was filled with the blend of our scents. Even the study had a special corner just for her, filled with her favorite essays and design drafts. This home was marked with her presence everywhere, and I found myself enjoying it completely. Even when she went on business trips, I would feel an inexplicable emptiness in the quiet house. One weekend morning, I was woken by a burnt smell from the kitchen. I threw on some clothes and walked over, only to find by Ningbing, flustered, trying to deal with a black and unidentifiable lump in the frying pan. "What are you making?" I leaned against the doorframe, holding back a laugh. She immediately showed a wronged expression. I wanted to make you a new kind of fried egg. She pointed at the lump in the pan. But they just wouldn't behave. There was egg mixture on her apron, and a smudge of oil on her cheek. She looked messy yet adorable. I walked over and turned off the stove, then hugged her from behind. Silly girl. I lowered my head and nuzzled her hair. I'll handle things like this. But I also want to do something for you. She turned around and wrapped her arms around my waist. Other people's girlfriends make breakfast for their boyfriends. You're you. You don't need to compare yourself to others. I wiped the oil off her face. And besides, I deliberately paused. And besides what? She asked curiously. You have a special skill no one else has. What skill? I leaned close to her ear, lowering my voice. You're great at sneaking into my bed at night. Her face instantly turned bright red. She clenched her fist and lightly punched my chest. Fangyu and Jeej, you've become bad. I smiled and caught her wrist, stealing a kiss from her lips. Bad company corrupts. In the end, I still made breakfast. Simple porridge and side dishes. But she ate with great appetite. It's delicious because Fangyu and Jeej made it. She narrowed her eyes in satisfaction. I'll just be in charge of eating from now on. All right. I added some food to her bowl. You take care of eating. I'll take care of feeding you. She smiled sweetly. Under the table, she gently nudged my leg with her foot. This kind of little gesture had become an unspoken intimacy between us. After the meal, we leaned on the sofa reading. She rested her head on my lap. Her long hair spread out, like silk laid out flat. Sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains, casting dappled shadows across her face. I absent-mindedly stroked her hair, feeling the silky softness at my fingertips. Fangyu and Jeej, she suddenly spoke, her eyes still fixed on the book in her hands. Let's get a cat. Here we go again. This was already the 5th time this month she brought it up. Didn't we agree to wait until we moved to a bigger place? I turned a page of my book. But I want one now. She put down the book and looked at me eagerly. Look at Aunt Wang's cat next door. It's so cute. Taking care of a cat is troublesome. I repeated my earlier argument. And are you sure you have time to take care of it? Yes, she immediately sat up, promising earnestly. I'll feed it on time every day. Play with it and brush its fur. Looking into her sparkling eyes, I knew I was about to give in again. This little wild kitten always knew how to soften my heart. Let's go take a look this weekend. I finally relented. Really, she pounced on me in excitement and planted a firm kiss on my cheek. Fangyu and Jeej is the best. So that weekend, we went to the pet shop. Ningbing was like a child in an amusement park, excitedly moving from one cage to another. This British Shorthair is so cute. Look at that orange cat. So chubby. And this Siamese. Such beautiful eyes. She exclaimed over every cat she saw. Completely unable to move on, I followed behind her, watching her lively figure, the corners of my lips lifting unconsciously. In the end, her gaze stopped on a silver-shaded cat. It was a very special cat. While the others meowed to attract attention, it sat quietly in the corner, elegantly licking its paw. Its emerald green eyes were like jade, with a hint of aloofness and coldness. It's like you. By Ningbing pointed at the cat, her eyes lighting up. That same comment again. I shook my head helplessly. How do I look like a cat? You just do, she insisted. You look cold. But you're actually very gentle. She crouched in front of the cage, trying to coax the cat. Kitty, come here. The cat only glanced at her, then continued licking its paw, completely unmoved. It's ignoring me. By Ningbing turned to me with the wrong look. A shop assistant came over and explained. This silver-shaded cat has a more independent personality. It's not very clingy. I'll take this one, By Ningbing said immediately. I was a bit surprised. Don't you like clingy cats? But it's like you, she said confidently. I'll train it to become a clingy cat. Just like you. What kind of logic is that? In the end, we still took that silver-shaded cat home. On the way back, Bai Ningbing held the cat carrier, excited like a child. Let's give it a name, she suggested. What should we call it? She tilted her head and thought, how about Zhaobai? I looked at the silver gray cat in the carrier and doubted that name. How is it white? Then Zhao Hui is too ordinary. Then what do you suggest? She tossed the question to me. I looked at the cat's aloof expression and suddenly got an idea. Let's call it CEO. CEO. Bai Ningbing froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. Why? Because it looks like a domineering CEO. With that proud little expression, Bai Ningbing leaned closer to look at the cat and nodded in agreement. It really does look like you. Then from now on, we'll call you CEO. And so, our home gained a new member. At first, CEO was exactly as the shop assistant described. Very aloof. She refused to sleep in the cat bed we prepared, insisting on sleeping on the highest spot of the sofa, overlooking the entire living room. She wouldn't play with toys either, just stared at me like I was an idiot. Bai Ningbing tried to hold her, but she always nimbly dodged, then sat down not far away, continuing to watch me with that superior gaze. She really looks like you. After being rejected for the nth time, Bai Ningbing lay on my lap, feeling wronged. Am I really that cold? I rubbed her hair. You used to be like this. She raised her head, her eyes resentful. When I first moved in, you were so cold to me. Are you bringing up old scores? Then what about now? I lowered my head and kissed her forehead. Now, she smiled, her eyes curving like crescents. Now I'm your clingy little one. As she spoke, she wrapped her arms around my neck and pressed a kiss onto my lips. Just then, CEO, who had been dozing on the sofa, suddenly jumped down and squeezed between us. Meow, she called, rubbing her head against Bai Ningbing's hand. It was the first time she sought affection. Bai Ningbing happily picked her up. CEO, you finally decided to pay attention to me. CEO found a comfortable position in her arms, letting out a soft purring sound. But her green eyes looked at me with a hint of provocation. Was this cat actually jealous? From then on, CEO really became, as Bai Ningbing wished, more and more clingy. But the one she clung to most was Bai Ningbing. Whenever I had any intimate moments with Bai Ningbing, she would always show up and wedge herself between us. At night, she even insisted on sleeping between us, stretching herself out like a cat pancake, taking up most of the bed. I felt like she was doing it on purpose. One night, I looked at CEO lying across between us and said helplessly. Bai Ningbing smiled and patted CEO's head. She's competing for attention. So I've lost favor? I raised an eyebrow. How could that be? She leaned closer and lightly kissed my lips. You'll always be my favorite. As she spoke, she carried CEO to the foot of the bed, then snuggled into my arms. Now it's perfect. CEO let out a dissatisfied meow from the foot of the bed, but eventually curled up to sleep. Moonlight poured into the bedroom like water. In my arms was the girl I loved. At my feet, an aloof cat. At this moment, I felt an unprecedented sense of fulfillment. Maybe this is what happiness truly looks like. Fang Yu and Jeej, Bai Ningbing said softly in my arms. Will we always be like this? We will. I tightened my arms. I promise. She smiled in the darkness, her fingers gently tracing across my chest. Anyone who lies has to swallow 1,000 needles. I finished her sentence. It was her favorite kind of vow. Domineering yet childishly cruel. But I knew she meant it, just as I did. CEO's arrival brought a lot more joy into our lives. This silver-shaded cat who looked so aloof actually had a clingy personality inside. She especially liked Bai Ningbing. Whenever Bai Ningbing was at home, CEO would follow her around like a little shadow, which occasionally made me feel a subtle jealousy. I felt like she was stealing too much of your attention. One weekend afternoon, I looked at CEO lying on Bai Ningbing's lap and couldn't help but complain. Bai Ningbing was drawing design sketches She looked up, her eyes curving into pretty crescents. Fang Yu and Jeej. Are you jealous? Jealous of a cat? I raised an eyebrow. Refusing to admit it, she put down her pen. Gently moved CEO onto the sofa. Then came over and sat beside me. Don't worry, she wrapped her arms around mine. Leaning against my shoulder. You'll always be my favorite. As she spoke, she tilted her head and kissed my cheek. CEO let out an unhappy meow from the sofa, her green eyes staring at us. See, she really is jealous. What do you want for dinner? I changed the subject, my fingers lightly twirling her hair. Anything you make, I like. She rubbed against my shoulder, like a lazy cat. This complete trust and dependence softened my heart entirely. Then I'll go buy groceries. I stood up to change clothes. I'm going to. She immediately stood up. Let's go to the supermarket together. And so, we began our weekly grocery shopping routine, pushing the cart through the aisles like a newlywed couple. Ningbing knew nothing about grocery shopping, but she enjoyed the process. Fang Yu and Jeej. Is this broccoli fresh? Fang Yu and Jeej. Should we buy some shrimp? Fang Yu and Jeej. Look, this yogurt is on sale. She was like a cheerful little bird, flitting between the shelves, occasionally picking up items to ask my opinion. I pushed the cart behind her, watching her lively figure. My heart filled with a warm sense of contentment. This was the simple happiness I wanted. While picking out ribs in the fresh food section, we ran into a small incident. A young girl recognized by Ningbing. Senior Ningbing. The girl exclaimed excitedly, it really is you. Ningbing froze for a moment, then showed a polite smile. Hello. Senior, you might not remember me. I'm Lin Wei, 2 grades below you. The girl was very enthusiastic. You were a celebrity at our school back then. So many guys chased after you. I stood to the side, observing quietly. Ningbing seemed a bit embarrassed. She secretly glanced at me. And this is? The girl's gaze shifted to me, filled with curiosity. My boyfriend, Fang Yuan. Ningbing immediately introduced me, her tone carrying an obvious possessiveness. She hooked her arm around mine, the gesture natural yet full of declaration. Boyfriend, huh? Lin Wei sized me up, her gaze a bit subtle. So Senior finally has a boyfriend. If those guys who chased you back then knew, they'd be heartbroken. That didn't sound very pleasant. Ningbing's smile faded slightly. That's all in the past. Right. Lin Wei nodded, then glanced at me again. I won't disturb you anymore. Goodbye, Senior. After she left, Ningbing immediately turned to face me. Fang Yu and Jeej. Don't listen to her nonsense, she explained nervously. That was all in the past. I've long forgotten it. I looked at her anxious expression and couldn't help but smile. What are you laughing at? She asked, confused. I was thinking. I leaned closer to her. My Ningbing is so outstanding. It's only natural that people would pursue her. She blinked, seemingly not expecting that response from me. You're not angry. Why would I be? I pinched her cheek. That just proves I have good taste. She let out a sigh of relief and smiled again. But I suddenly changed tone. You belong to me now. There was an unquestionable possessiveness in my voice. Her eyes instantly lit up, as if filled with stars. Humph. She nodded firmly. Always will be. On the way home, she held tightly onto my arm, looking in a very good mood. Fang Yu and Jeej, you were jealous just now, weren't you? She suddenly asked. No, I denied. You were. She shook her head smugly. When you said you belonged to me just now, you sounded so domineering. I've been seen through. I cleared my throat and didn't respond. But that only made her happier. Humming an off-key tune, her steps light. That evening, I cooked her favorite sweet and sour ribs. She ate with great enjoyment, sauce at the corner of her mouth. Fang Yu and Jeej's cooking is the best. She squinted happily. CEO sat on a chair nearby, looking at us eagerly. She seems to want some too. I pointed at CEO. No, Ningbing said seriously to the cat. Kitties can't eat this. CEO meowed, jumped off the chair, and walked away haughtily. Her expression seemed to say, fine, I won't eat it. Like I even care. Ningbing and I exchanged smiles. These ordinary daily moments became especially precious because we had each other. After dinner, we sat on lounge chairs on the balcony, watching the stars. The early summer night breeze carried a faint floral scent, gently brushing against our faces. Ningbing leaned into my arms, her fingers absent-mindedly playing with my shirt. Fang Yu and Jeej, do you remember when we watched the stars together as kids? I searched my memory, but only found vague fragments. I don't really remember. I remember, she said softly. Back then you told me. The brightest one was the North Star. It always points north. Her voice carried a nostalgic gentleness. You said if one day we got separated, we could look at the North Star, and we would find each other. I looked down at her. Moonlight cast soft shadows across her face. So we never got separated. I said softly, you found me. She raised her head, her eyes shining in the night. No, I didn't find you. She corrected, I finally came back to you. There was a deeper meaning hidden in her words, but I didn't dwell on it. I just held her a little tighter. We'll never be apart again. I promised. She smiled in the darkness, her fingers gently tracing my collarbone, where a faint mark still remained, left from when she marked me before. Anyone who lies has to swallow 1,000 needles, she said softly. I held her hand. 1,000 needles. For us, this vow was more real than any sweet words. Late at night, we returned to the bedroom. CEO had already taken over the center of the bed, sprawled out like a cat pancake. She's getting more and more outrageous, I said helplessly, looking at the arrogant cat. But Ningbing laughed happily. She's learning your sleeping posture. My sleeping posture is that bad? Is my sleeping posture really that bad? In the end, we still compromised. The three of us squeezed onto one bed. Ningbing slept on the innermost side. I slept in the middle, and CEO slept on the outer side. Good night, Fang Yu and Jeej. She placed a gentle kiss on my lips. Good night, Ningbing. In the darkness, I listened to her steady breathing, feeling the warmth of her body beside me, and the faint purring of the cat at my feet. All of it formed the most soothing lullaby. Just as I was about to fall asleep, Ningbing suddenly whispered, Fang Yu and Jeej, let's get married. My drowsiness instantly vanished. I opened my eyes, and met a pair of eyes shining brightly in the dark. What did you say? I thought I had misheard. I said, let's get married. She repeated, her tone calm yet firm. Moonlight slipped through the curtains, shining on her serious face. At that moment, time seemed to stand still. I looked into her eyes. There was no trace of a joke in them, only pure sincerity and expectation. I heard my own voice answer okay, without hesitation, without doubt, as if this answer had already been rehearsed countless times in my heart. Her eyes instantly grew moist, glistening under the moonlight. Really? Her voice trembled slightly. Really? I reached out and gently touched her cheek. We're getting married. She threw herself into my arms, holding me tightly. It's a promise. She buried her face in my chest, her voice muffled. You can't go back on it this time. I won't. I gently patted her back. I never will. CEO was awakened by the noise and let out a dissatisfied meow. But this time, she didn't squeeze between us. She just turned over and went back to sleep, as if silently approving this decision. It was late into the night. The girl in my arms had already fallen asleep. A happy smile still lingered on her lips. I looked at her peaceful sleeping face. My heart was filled with an unprecedented sense of fullness. This domineering yet clingy childhood sweetheart. This girl who said she would lock me up, yet gave me her entire heart. From now on, she would be my wife. This realization made me smile unconsciously. I lowered my head and placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. Good night, my fiancée. The morning after the proposal. The sunlight was especially bright. When I woke up, Ningbing was already awake, resting her chin on her hand as she looked at me, her eyes sparkling, as if filled with the sunlight of the whole summer. Good morning, fiance, she said with a smile, her voice slightly hoarse from just waking up. That title made my heart warm. Good morning, fiancée. I reached out and pulled her into my arms. She rubbed gently against me in my embrace, like a satisfied little cat. Last night I dreamed you changed your mind, she said softly. It scared me to death. Dreams are the opposite of reality. I stroked her long hair. I always keep my word. She raised her head. Her eyes widened, moist and glistening. Really? I kissed her forehead. Want to pinky swear? She broke into a smile through her tears. So childish. But she still hooked her little finger with mine to seal the promise. Sunlight streamed in through the gap in the curtains, dancing across her face. This moment felt unreal in its beauty. After getting up, we decided to tell our parents the news. We called my mom first. The call connected. I put it on speaker. Mom, Lingbing and I are getting married. There was a 3-second silence on the other end. Then came a scream. Really? That's wonderful. Old Fang, your son is getting married. I could hear my dad excitedly asking questions in the background. Ningbing leaned against me, smiling like a blooming flower. Annie, I'm Ningbing. Ningbing, you should start calling me Mom now. My mom's voice was full of joy. If Zhao Yuan dares to bully you, just tell Mom anytime. I'll teach him a lesson for you. He wouldn't dare. Ningbing glanced at me, with a hint of smugness in her eyes. Then we called Ningbing's parents. The same joy. The same blessings. Her father even spoke with me for a bit. His tone was serious. Zhao Yuan, I'm entrusting Ningbing to you. Don't worry, uncle. I'll take good care of her. Ningbing pinched my arm from the side and corrected me softly. You should call him Dad. I smiled and corrected myself. Dad, I will take good care of Ningbing. A relieved laugh came from the other end of the phone. After hanging up, we looked at each other and smiled. Now the whole world knows you're mine. Ningbing wrapped her arms around my neck. No, you're mine. I corrected her. It's the same. She leaned closer, rubbing her nose against mine. Anyway, we belong to each other. The CEO crouched on the sofa, tilting its head at us. Meow, it called out, as if offering its blessing. Even the CEO agrees, Ningbing said with a smile. In the days that followed, we began preparing for the wedding. Actually, there wasn't much to prepare. We both felt the wedding was about the two of us. Simple and warm would be enough, but Ningbing was especially insistent on one thing. I want to wear the most beautiful wedding dress, she said, her eyes sparkling, so that the moment you see me, you can't look away. So, we spent a whole weekend visiting every bridal shop in the city. She tried on one dress after another. Each one looked beautiful on her. But I always felt something was missing, until she tried on the last one. It was a simple satin wedding dress, without excessive decorations or complex tailoring, yet it perfectly outlined her figure. When she walked out of the fitting room, the whole shop fell silent. Sunlight streamed in from outside the window, casting a golden glow over her. She slowly walked toward me, her skirt swaying gently. Does it look good? She asked softly, her eyes filled with anticipation and nervousness. I looked at her, unable to say a word. My heart felt like it was filled with something swelling, warm. What's wrong? She lowered her head a little uneasily. Does it not look good? I stepped forward, gently taking her hand. So beautiful. I finally found my voice again. So beautiful that I'm speechless. Her eyes lit up instantly. A blush spread across her cheeks. Really, really. I nodded seriously. Let's go with this one. She spun around happily, her skirt flaring out. I liked this one the most too. After choosing the wedding dress, everything else became much simpler. We chose a small chapel, inviting only our closest family and friends. The invitation was personally designed by Ningbing, simple yet delicate, printed with a photo of us from childhood, and a small line of text. At last, I found my way home. The night before the wedding, according to tradition, we couldn't meet. She went back to her parents' home. I stayed alone in our apartment. Without her by my side, the whole place felt empty. Even the CEO seemed a bit restless, pacing back and forth around the room. You miss her too. I patted the CEO's head. It meowed, jumped onto the sofa, staring toward the door. I lay on the bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Habit is a frightening thing. Just one night apart, and I already miss her warmth, her scent, her unconscious little movements while sleeping. My phone lit up. It was her message. Are you asleep? No. I can't sleep either. A little nervous. What about you? Me too. A video call request popped up. I answered, and her face appeared on the screen. She was wearing the t-shirt I usually wear, her hair loosely draped over her shoulders. The background was her childhood room. Why are you wearing my clothes? I asked with a smile. I miss you. She buried her face in the collar. It smells like you. That sentence made my heart melt. We'll see each other tomorrow, I said softly. She nodded, her eyes shining on the other side of the screen. Fang Yuanjie, are you looking forward to it? I am, I answered honestly. Looking forward to seeing you in your wedding dress. She smiled, to dimples faintly appearing. I promise I won't disappoint you. We chatted for quite a while, until she started yawning. Go to sleep, I said. Tomorrow you'll be the most beautiful bride. Okay, she rubbed her eyes. Good night. Good night, fiance. Good night, fiancé. After ending the video, I finally felt sleepy. In my dreams, she walked toward me in her wedding dress. The next day, the wedding was held as planned. I arrived at the church early, wearing the suit she had chosen for me, my heart filled with unprecedented nervousness and anticipation. Guests arrived one after another, all our closest people. My mom held my hand, her eyes reddening. Son, you must be happy. I will, Mom. Time passed bit by bit. Finally, the wedding march began. The church doors slowly opened. She stood at the entrance, wearing that satin wedding dress, holding a bouquet of white roses. Sunlight streamed in from behind her, bathing her in a sacred glow. So beautiful it took my breath away. She slowly walked toward me, her steps steady, her gaze locked on me the whole time. Filled with complete trust and love, I looked at her. My heart felt completely full. At this moment, it felt as if the whole world had been reduced to just the two of us. She finally walked up to me and placed her hand in mine. You look beautiful today, I said softly. You too, she smiled, her eyes shimmering with tears. The priest began reading the vows. When asked if we were willing, we answered in unison, I do. Our voices firm, without a trace of hesitation. When exchanging rings, my hands trembled slightly. She smiled and held my hand, helping steady the simple platinum ring. As I slowly slipped it onto her ring finger, and in doing so, bound my whole life to hers. Now the groom may kiss the bride. I lifted her veil and leaned down to kiss her lips, gentle, yet carrying an eternal promise. Amid the applause and blessings, she whispered in my ear, from now on, you'll always be mine. I wrapped my arms around her waist and replied to her vow, you too, forever. The wedding banquet was simple and warm. We shared our first dance, cut the cake, and received everyone's blessings. She kept smiling, her eyes sparkling like they held stars. Are you happy? I held her waist, swaying gently on the dance floor. Happy, she leaned her head on my shoulder. I've never been this happy. After the banquet, we returned to our carefully decorated room. Red rose petals were scattered across the floor. Candles cast a warm glow. She stood in the center of the room, nervously clutching the hem of her dress. "What do we do now?" she asked softly. I smiled and walked closer, helping her remove the veil. "We do what we've always wanted to do." Her face instantly flushed red, but she didn't pull away. Under the candlelight, her eyes were especially bright, filled with shyness and anticipation. I lowered my head and gently kissed her lips. This time, it was no longer just a light touch, but carried all my love and longing. Deepening the kiss, she responded softly, her arms wrapping around my neck. The night was still long. Morning light filtered through the sheer curtains, gently filling the bedroom. When I woke up, Ningbing was still asleep. She was curled up in my arms, her cheek pressed against my chest, breathing evenly. Her long hair spread across the pillow, like silk laid out. Sunlight danced on her eyelashes, casting delicate shadows. I quietly looked at her, my heart filled with an unprecedented sense of fullness. This girl was now my wife. That realization made my lips curl up unconsciously. One shifted slightly, wanting her to sleep more comfortably, but she instinctively tightened her arms, holding me even closer, murmuring unconsciously, "Tonginje." Even in her dreams she called me. My heart softened completely. I lowered my head and kissed her hair. "I'm here," I whispered in response, as if she heard me. The corners of her lips curved slightly, and she slept even more soundly. Looking at her peaceful sleeping face, fragments of last night surfaced in my mind. Her shyness, her soft sounds, her passion. Every moment made my heart race. This girl who, in front of others, always seemed somewhat cold and distant, only showed her truest self in front of me. Domineering yet clingy, strong yet dependent, like a little cat that had put away its claws, only revealing its soft belly to me. The sunlight gradually grew brighter. She frowned slightly in the light and burrowed deeper into my arms. I raised my hand to block the sunlight for her. That movement woke her up. She slowly opened her eyes, still a little dazed. "Morning," her voice was hoarse from just waking. "Morning, wife," I smiled at her. That term made her pause. Then her cheeks flushed red. "Say it again," she asked softly. "Wife," I said obediently. She smiled in satisfaction, burying her face in my chest. "Husband," she replied softly. Her voice brushed against my heart like a feather. At this moment, happiness overflowed within me. We lingered in bed until late morning. Neither of us wanted to break the warm tranquility. In the end, the CEO jumped onto the bed and tapped my face with its paw, clearly saying it was hungry. "Looks like someone is protesting." I sat up helplessly. Ningbing followed and got up too, stretching lazily. The blanket slipped from her shoulders, revealing faint ambiguous marks. Her face turned red again. She quickly pulled the blanket back up. "I'll go feed the CEO." She moved to get out of bed. I stopped her. "I'll do it today. You sleep a bit more." She shook her head. "Let's do it together." So we got up together, preparing breakfast like usual. But something felt different. Every exchanged glance carried sweetness. Every accidental touch made our hearts race. Even something as ordinary as feeding the CEO felt especially warm. "She seems especially well behaved today," Ningbing said, watching the CEO eat quietly. "Maybe she knows the lady of the house is in a good mood." I smiled and handed her a glass of milk. She took the cup. Her fingertips lightly brushed against mine. A faint current ran through me. We looked at each other and couldn't help but smile. This newlywed sweetness made even the air feel thick. After breakfast, we sat on the rattan chairs on the balcony, basking in the sun. She leaned against my arms. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. The early summer sunlight was warm but not harsh. A gentle breeze carried a faint floral scent. "It feels like a dream," She said softly, "We're really married." "It's not a dream." I held her hand. "You're my wife." "I'm your husband." She turned around, looking at me seriously. "Will you always treat me well?" "I will," I answered without hesitation. "Even better than now. Better with each passing day." She smiled in satisfaction, leaning back into my arms. "Me too," she said softly. "I'll love you more with each passing day." Under the sunlight, her eyes were like the purest flame, reflecting only my image. At that moment, I was completely certain. This was the future I wanted. With her, with the CEO, with this home full of love. In the afternoon, we started sorting through the wedding gifts. Most were practical household items, along with some decorations. She opened them happily, like a child receiving Christmas presents. "This vase is beautiful. We can put it on the dining table. This set of tableware is perfect for everyday use. This photo frame is so delicate." When she opened a beautifully wrapped box, her movement suddenly paused. "What is it?" I asked, as she took out the item. It was an exquisite silver necklace pendant. A small delicate lock, with English engraved on it. "Who sent this?" She looked at the card. There was only a simple sentence: "Wishing you happiness. Signed, Lin Wei." It was that junior we met at the supermarket last time. My Ningbing's expression became a bit subtle. "What's wrong?" I took the necklace and looked at it. "It's quite pretty. Don't you think the meaning of this lock is a bit too?" She trailed off. Only then did I realize. Confinement, possession. It really does match by Ningbing's style. But coming from someone else, it feels a bit strange. "If you don't like it, just put it away." I put the necklace back into the box, but she picked it up and played with it in her hand. "Actually, it's quite nice," she suddenly said, "and the meaning isn't bad either." She looked at me, her eyes carrying that familiar dominance. "You were always locked by me, weren't you?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Yes. I'm your prisoner." She nodded in satisfaction and handed me the necklace. "Put it on me." I took the necklace, carefully putting it on her. The silver lock pendant rested between her delicate collarbones, surprisingly fitting. She walked to the mirror and looked, then turned to ask me, "Does it look good?" "It looks good," I said sincerely. She walked back, wrapping her arms around my neck. "Then you're locked by me from now on. You can never escape." I never wanted to escape. I lowered my head and kissed her forehead. She smiled, her eyes curving like crescents. In the evening, we decided to go for a walk, like every ordinary newlywed couple, holding hands as we strolled through the neighborhood. The sunset stretched our shadows long. She hopped around, stepping on my shadow playfully. "I stepped on your head," she said happily. "That's ruthless." I played along with a pained expression. She laughed even more happily, running over to hug my arm. "Just kidding," I couldn't bear to. We walked to the fountain in the center of the neighborhood. We sat down on the bench. Water droplets shimmered with golden light in the sunset. A few couples were strolling nearby. Occasionally, children's laughter could be heard. "It feels so nice." She leaned against my shoulder. "Just this kind of simple, peaceful life." I held her hand. "This is the life I want." She lifted her head, her eyes sparkling. "When we grow old, let's still take walks together like this every day, okay? I promise to walk with you every day, until we can't walk anymore." She leaned back against my shoulder, satisfied. The sunset slowly sank below the horizon. The sky was dyed with brilliant colors. "We should head back," I said softly. "Let's sit a little longer." She tightened her grip on my arm, reluctant to end the day. I understood how she felt. This day was too beautiful. It made you want to stretch it out forever. But I knew every day in the future would be just as beautiful, because we have each other. In the end, we still got up and went home. The streetlights had already lit up, casting a warm glow in the dusk. Our shadows overlapped and separated under the lights, yet always stayed closely connected, just like our destinies. When we got home, the CEO was waiting by the door. When it saw us, it meowed, as if complaining that we came back too late. Ningbing picked it up, gently stroking it. Sorry. Next time we'll take you with us. The CEO haughtily turned its head away, but its tail honestly wrapped around her arm. That night, we fell asleep in each other's arms, without last night's passion, but with a deeper warmth and understanding. In the darkness, she whispered, Fang Yuanjie, today was the happiest day of my life. There will be many more days like this. I promise. She nodded in my arms. I believe. Moonlight slipped through the gap in the curtains, shining on our clasped hands. The wedding rings glimmered faintly in the moonlight, symbolizing an eternal promise. Good night, wife. Good night, husband. That night, we slept especially peacefully, because we knew, when we woke up, the one we loved would be by our side, and such days would last a lifetime. Time flowed like a gentle stream, quietly running through the riverbed of happiness. In the blink of an eye, a year had already passed since Ningbing and I got married. This past year, our life had no earth-shattering waves. Yet it was filled with the warmest everyday moments. Every morning, I would still wake up to her sleepwalking. Only now, she no longer needed any excuse, always naturally rolling into my arms, pressing her cold hands and feet against me. So, what? She said confidently, her eyes still closed, and I had long gotten used to adjusting my posture in my sleep to pull her comfortably into my arms. The CEO still slept at the foot of the bed, but no longer tried to squeeze between us. It seemed to have finally accepted the fact that in this home, it would always rank second. Every weekend, we would still go grocery shopping together. She pushed the cart, while I picked the ingredients. Fang Yuanjie, I want to eat the braised pork you make, okay? Let's buy pork belly, and also that steamed fish you made last time, okay? Let's buy sea bass. She ordered dishes, and I carried them out. We worked in perfect sync. Occasionally, she would whimsically try new recipes, which usually ended with me throwing away the burnt failures and cooking a simple bowl of noodles instead. Am I useless? She looked at that simple bowl of plain noodles, a little dejected. Who said that? I added a fried egg to her bowl. My Ningbing is a genius designer. She doesn't need to know how to cook. She blinked. Then you'll cook from now on. I will. I nodded. I'll cook for a lifetime. She immediately beamed with joy. Under the table, she lightly nudged me with her foot. These little gestures still make my heart race. Our rhythms of life gradually sensed. She no longer worked late into the night, and I tried to handle my work at home. After dinner, we would sit together in the study. She drew design drafts. I wrote code, without disturbing each other, yet always feeling each other's presence. Occasionally looking up, our eyes would meet. We smiled at each other, then continued our work. This kind of understanding was better than 1,000 words. The CEO lay on the sofa in the study, watching us, its emerald eyes full of contentment. This spring, we moved into a new home, finally fulfilling our earlier promise. A big house with a yard. On moving day, Ningbing was as excited as a child. We can plant roses here, and put a swing there, and build a cat climbing frame for the CEO. Watching her cheerful figure, I felt all the effort was worth it, to give her a better home. No hardship felt too much. The bedroom in the new house was spacious, with a floor-to-ceiling window. At night, we could lie side by side and watch the stars. More than we ever saw when we were young. She leaned against my shoulder and softly said, it's because there's less light pollution here. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. She was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, Fang Yuanjie, let's have a child. I froze for a moment and turned to look at her. Under the moonlight, her eyes were especially bright. Why did you suddenly think of this? I just want one. She leaned against my chest. A child that's also ours. As I imagined that scene, My heart softened completely, okay. I kissed her hair. Let's have a child. She smiled happily, rubbing against me in my arms. Do you think a boy or a girl would be better? Either is fine, I said, as long as it's our child. Then let's have two. She pushed her luck. One boy. And one girl. Okay. I indulged her, however many you want. She smiled in the moonlight, her fingers gently brushing my cheek. Fang Yuanjie, you've spoiled me. I'm happy to, I said as she leaned closer, pressing a gentle kiss on my lips. I love you. This was her first time saying those 3 words so directly. No joking. No testing. Only pure sincerity. My heart felt like it was filled with something swollen and warm. I love you too, I responded, holding her even tighter. By the end of summer, we received the long-awaited good news. She was pregnant. The day we got the test results, her hands kept trembling. It's really there, she kept confirming, her eyes shining brightly. It's real. I held her hand, my voice trembling as well. We hugged in the hospital corridor, ignoring the looks of others. At that moment, joy overwhelmed everything. On the way home, she kept touching her still flat belly, with a gentle smile on her lips. How big do you think it is now? Like a tiny bean. I drove with one hand, the other always holding her hand. So amazing, she said softly, our little bean. From that moment on, she became even more clingy. Pregnancy symptoms made her rely on me even more. Every morning, I had to coax her to finish breakfast. At noon, I'd call to remind her to take a nap. At night, I'd massage her swollen legs. And I was more than willing. The CEO also seemed to notice something, becoming especially gentle, always carefully following beside her, as if afraid of bumping into her. Even the CEO knows to protect mommy now, I said, patting its head. It meowed and rubbed against by Ningbing's leg. She smiled and crouched down, gently stroking it. When the baby is born, you'll be a big brother. The CEO seemed to understand, its tail raised high. By late autumn, her belly was already very obvious. We started preparing the nursery. She designed it herself. I carried out the plan. Light blue walls, a cloud-shaped ceiling lamp, soft carpets. Every detail was filled with our love. The crib goes here. She pointed near the window. Good sunlight, and the toy cabinet goes here. I pointed to another wall. Easy to reach. We were like two serious students, planning every detail of the future. Occasionally, she would cry because of mood swings during pregnancy. I've become ugly. She looked at herself in the mirror, eyes full of tears. Who said that? I hugged her from behind. My Ningbing will always be the most beautiful. You're lying, she sniffled. My belly is so big. My face is round too. I turned her around and looked into her eyes seriously. You know, right now, you're more beautiful than ever. She blinked, tears still clinging to her lashes. Really? Really? I kissed her forehead. Because you're carrying our child. She broke into a smile and leaned into my arms. Fang Yuanjie, you're so good to me. When winter arrived, our child was born, a girl. 6 Jin and 8 Liang. Her cries were loud and strong. I stayed by her side, holding her hand, watching her endure the pain of childbirth. When she finally collapsed from exhaustion, and the nurse placed the clean baby in her arms, we both cried. So tiny and red, like a little monkey. Yet the most beautiful sight I had ever seen. She looks like you. I kissed by Ningbing's sweat-damp forehead. You've worked hard, wife. She shook her head, a tired yet happy smile on her face. We named our daughter Fang Nianqing. Nianqing, longing and remembrance, to commemorate this hard-earned love between us. The day we were discharged and went home. The sunlight was warm. I carefully held our daughter. My Ningbing held onto my arm. The CEO greeted us at the door, curiously sniffing the little life in the baby basket. "This is your little sister," my Ningbing said softly to the CEO. "You must protect her well." The CEO meowed, circling around the baby basket, then lying down obediently beside it, as if taking on the duty of guarding. Life began a new chapter. Midnight feedings, diaper changes, soothing her to sleep. Though exhausting, yet it was filled with sweetness. My Ningbing was a gentle mother, always patiently soothing our crying daughter. And I learned every skill needed to care for a baby. Who would have thought President Fang had this side? She watched me skillfully mix formula and couldn't help teasing. "For you too. I can learn anything." I handed her the bottle at the perfect temperature. She took the bottle, her gaze gentle. "Fang Yuanjie. Thank you." "Thank me for what?" "Thank you for giving me a home." I leaned down and placed a soft kiss on her lips. "I should be the one thanking you. Thank you for finding me in this vast world. Thank you for loving me in that domineering yet adorable way. Thank you for giving me a complete home." On a spring afternoon, the sunlight was warm. Our family of 3, plus the CEO, were basking in the sun on the lawn. My Ningbing held our daughter. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. The CEO lay beside us, its tail swaying gently. "Fang Yuanjie," she called me softly. "Did I ever tell you why I insisted on coming back to find you?" I shook my head. She lowered her head to look at our daughter, a gentle smile on her lips. "Because when we were little, you once said something to me." "What did I say?" "You said if one day we got separated, just look at the North Star, and we would definitely find each other." She raised her head, her eyes shining in the sunlight. "So all these years, I kept looking at the North Star, and finally, I found my way home." I looked at her. My heart felt like it was filled with something. So it turns out, those childhood promises I thought I had long forgotten, she had remembered all along, and spent a lifetime following them. I held her hand tightly, and said softly, "From now on, we will never be separated again." She nodded with a smile, leaning on my shoulder. The sunlight was just right. The breeze was gentle. Our daughter in my arms let out contented babbles. The CEO rolled around on the grass, exposing its soft belly. This moment was eternity. In this lifetime, she could only be mine, and I could only be hers. That domineering declaration became the sweetest promise between us. And I was willing, for all eternity,